Chapter 15. The Burden of Moab. Because in the night Ar of Moab is laid waste, and brought to silence, because in the night Kir of Moab is laid waste, and brought to silence, he is gone up to Bejeth and to Dibon, the high places, to weep. Moab shall howl over Nebo and over Medeba. On all their heads shall there be baldness, and every beard cut off. In their streets they shall gird themselves with sackcloth. On the tops of their houses and in their streets everyone shall howl, weeping abundantly. And Heshbon shall cry, and Elealeh, their voice shall be heard even unto Jahaz. Therefore the armed soldiers of Moab shall cry out, his life shall be grievous unto him. My heart shall cry out for Moab, his fugitives shall flee unto Zoar, and heifer of 3 years old, for by the mounting up of Luhith with weeping shall they go it up. For in the way of Horonaim shall they raise up a cry of destruction. For the waters of Nimrim shall be desolate, for the hay is withered away, the grass faileth, there is no green thing. Therefore the abundance they have gotten, and that which they have laid up shall they carry away to the brook of the willows. For the cry is gone round about the borders of Moab, the howling thereof unto Eglaim, and the howling thereof to Beer Elim. For the waters of Dimon shall be full of blood, for I will bring more upon Dimon, lions upon him that escapeth of Moab, and upon the remnant of the land. Here in chapter 15, actually in chapters 15 and 16, Isaiah is prophesying the Lord's judgment against the people and country area of Moab. Now Moab, the individual Moab, after which the country is named, was the oldest son of the oldest daughter of Lot. So they were related to the Hebrew people through Terah. I believe it was Terah, who was Abraham's father. Though they weren't really very close, there wasn't any really warm feelings between them, and the Lord actually numerous times made the point of chastening Israel using Moab to do it. So the Hebrew people were not very friendly towards Moab. In chapter 15 and 16, Isaiah tells what the future is, and where he basically lets Israel know in his prophecy that though they will be gathered back to the land that they could have inherited the first time through, and eventually will the second time in the last days, that Moab will be totally destroyed. And Moab is another country that is used as an example of worldliness and wickedness. Now, the next couple of chapters, it makes a big thing about baldness and loss of hair. And in those times and in that culture, if you had your hair clipped off, it was considered to be a shame and an embarrassment. And what he's talking about there, what he's prophesying, is that the Moab will be ashamed and embarrassed and exposed to ridicule because she will be shorn of her beauty. In verse 5, it talks about a 3-year-old heifer. Now, for those of you who haven't ever had a farm and don't know, a heifer is a female cow that has yet to have a calf. And a 3-year-old heifer is very, very healthy, very robust. And what he's basically saying here is even though Moab seems to be very young and healthy and robust and able to do all kinds of things, that within 3 years she will be destroyed. And that literally came true within the 3 years by Assyrian invasion under Sennacherib. Literally almost to the day, certainly to the year. Now, the destruction of Moab was total, and he was foretold that it was going to be total. He listed off the cities that were going to be captured and taken. Now, Moab wasn't a highly populated area, so there weren't millions of people there in Moab, so far as we're aware. A fair number of people and a fair number of small cities, but nothing really huge. And it mentions that the waters of Dimon, which is one of the 4 rivers that watered the Moab area, would be stained red with blood. And the Diamond River was particularly important in this prophecy because it was at the very center, at the very core of the Moab territory. And for it to be stained red with blood, there would have to be an immense slaughter right in the very core part of Moab, which would be why all the lamentation and the crying and all the rest of it. In the last days, it talks about the relationship between Judah and Moab changing. Actually, in the older scripture, it doesn't say lions, it says lion. The lion of Judah would come upon the remnant of Moab, whoever was left after the destruction, and would rule over them and take tribute from them. And so eventually they would have peace because Moab had been largely destroyed. In the 1950s and 1960s, I mean, literally there's virtually nothing there now. It's part of Jordan, but there's no great anything there. There's one or two small cities, I think, but it never regained any of its power or prestige. And it's, if I remember correctly, there was a stela that was put up there that was found in the 1950s or 1960s that is the most noted archaeological find, but very, very, very little else. It was like when Moab was destroyed, it was like everything went with it. They haven't found much, certainly nowhere near as much as they know about Israel.